Hi there! Today we're going to take a look at the setInterval function. So, setInterval is a function that executes a callback repeatedly at a specified interval. SetInterval does this by accepting a function as an argument, as well as an interval. This will be how long you want the interval between two calls to be. If no interval is passed, the callback will be repeatedly called as fast as the browser allows, which is based on its minimum enforced delay. And this would generally not be the best idea. You can also optionally pass X amount of arguments after the delay to be passed into the callback. Now, you can also stop the execution of an interval by using clear interval. The operation is asynchronous, so it does not block the call stack. All right, so how do we write one? We can start with a setInterval function. We will then add a callback using an arrow function, and we'll just go ahead and log dev dog daily. And then as the second argument, we will add an interval of 1000. So every 1 second, this function will be called. Let's go ahead and hit save and check out the console. Cool. So we can see here that we're logging the output every 1 second. On to some theoretical questions. So what is the difference between setTimeout and setInterval? Both functions are similar in that they deal with time and are considered timing functions. But where they differ is that setTimeout is executed once after a delay, while setInterval repeatedly fires a function at a specified amount of time. What happens if the setInterval callback takes longer to run than the interval duration? You could say something like, a new execution of the callback won't begin until the current execution is completed. So what will happen is that our intervals between function calls will actually be longer than the amount we passed into setInterval. So if we passed in 1000 milliseconds, it might actually be 1500 milliseconds or however long it takes for the function to complete. Each callback will be executed sequentially and will not have any overlap between calls. What are some practical use cases for setInterval? So some practical use cases are a digital clock, countdown timers, animations, slideshows, and even web games. On to some coding questions. Create a counter that increments every 500 milliseconds until the counter reaches 10. Cool, so we can start by declaring a variable called counter, and we'll give it a start value of 0. Then we're going to use the setInterval function. However, we'll assign it to a variable called timer so that we can later clear the interval once we've reached 10. So I'll go ahead and add setInterval to timer, and then we'll add a callback, and in here we're going to log the counter. Then, after we log the counter, we'll increment the counter by 1. After that, we're going to go ahead and add a conditional, and it's going to be a conditional where if the counter is greater than 10, then we will call clear interval on the timer. That's how we're going to stop setInterval from repeatedly calling the function. Another question you might get is to display the current time in the console and to update it every second. So we're dealing with time, so we know we're going to want to use the date object, and we're updating every second, so we want to use setInterval. For starters, we have this empty log time function. So we'll go ahead and create a current time variable, and that will hold a new date object, which in that moment will be the current time. Then we'll want to make the date object more readable. So let's format it using toLocale time string, and this will be stored in a new variable called formatted time. Once that's done, we can go ahead and console log the formatted time. Now, this will work, but we want to call it every second. So we can add a setInterval function, and then we'll pass in the log time function at an interval of 1000. Now, if we hit save, let's check out the console. All right, this is pretty awesome. It's working. Now, a quick quiz for you. Comment below how we could clean up the console so that on every iteration, the console only has one time logged and there aren't any previous times. All right, that covers today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.